Welcome to Midnight Horrors. Dive into chilling tales and dark mysteries. Subscribe for more spine-tingling stories. Story 3. The Fun House Stalker. I hate carnivals. I think they're disgusting and filled with children. I hate the food, the games, and the smell of it all. My hatred of carnivals is probably biased, though, and mostly based on what I'm about to tell you. A few years ago, I was dragged to our local carnival by my younger sister. I wasn't going to be rude and not go, but I wasn't looking forward to it. After a while, my sister got bored and wanted to leave, so I called my mom to pick us up. I opted not to go with them as I was in the midst of a fight with my dad and didn't want to go back home until he was asleep. I told my mom I'd walk home later, so she picked up my sister and left. The carnival was honestly a little pathetic. There were far fewer people there that night than I remember in previous years, and everyone looked miserable. I figured I might as well walk around a little to try and get my money's worth. After all, I had paid for a ticket out of my own pocket. I decided to step into the fun house, figuring that would at least be a little cool. I expected there to be a ton of people in there, but it was completely empty. There was literally not a single other person in there as far as I could tell. I had never been inside a fun house alone before. People don't realize how important the laughter and talking are to the atmosphere. Without it, you're basically just standing there in silence, surrounded by a bunch of weird mirrors. It was honestly a little creepy. I shrugged my shoulders and figured I might as well walk through it. Admittedly, I got a pretty good laugh out of the distorted mirrors. I think I was about halfway through when I noticed something odd in one of the reflections to my left ahead that seemed to be peering at me. I only saw it for a split second, but it was a bald guy with really sunken eyes. I whipped around, but didn't see anyone. To be completely honest, I had no idea where he had even been standing, since there were mirrors all over the place. He could have literally been anywhere. I thought it was especially creepy since I didn't hear the fun house entrance open. He either snuck in behind me or he had already been inside. I kept walking, going a little more quickly now, and then I saw him again out of the corner of my eye. He had this deranged smile. This time it was the exact same face. I was positive. I tried to figure out where he was standing, but the reflections were too confusing. I yelled for him to get lost, but got no response. I wasn't sure what I was expecting. I picked up the pace again, but it was difficult trying to navigate this maze of mirrors, and I kept hitting dead ends. I started sweating, constantly looking over my shoulder every few seconds. A few minutes later, I turned a corner after hitting another dead end, and a hand reached out from behind one of the mirrors and grabbed my wrist. I screamed, cursing at the guy to let go of me, but he held firm. I punched his arm, forcing him to let go. I fell to the ground in the fray and saw the creepster in his full form. He was wearing all gray, had a bit of a gut, and a tired, sunken face. I jumped to my feet before he could reach for me again and sprinted back the way I came. I don't know if it was survival instincts or not, but finding my way back to the entrance was somehow easier with the adrenaline coursing through my veins. I sprinted out of the fun house and caught my breath. I reached into my back pocket, and a horrifying realization hit me. I didn't have my wallet. I must have dropped it when I fell. There was no way I was going back in there. After running to the nearest staff person, I told them everything that happened. She seemed confused and told me that the fun house was closed to patrons that night. I was horrified. They called the police and searched it but found nothing, not even my wallet. I felt like such an idiot. I told them that the guy was probably an ex-employee with a key, but they shrugged off my theory and told me to go home. So reluctantly, that's what I did. It's not like I had gotten hurt or anything. I wish I could tell you the story ended there, but I can't. A week later, my girlfriend called me one night in a panic, frantically screaming into the phone about something terrible that happened. Apparently, someone had been texting her phone pretending to be me and convinced her to drive out to this remote location to help me change a tire. Thankfully, she decided to bring her dad, even though the guy told her to come alone. They quickly realized what was going on when the car parked in the lot wasn't mine. Her dad stepped out of the car, and 6 dudes stepped out of the car in front of him. He sprinted back to the car and hightailed it out of there before those guys could catch up to him. The whole thing made sense. I did have my girlfriend's number written down on a slip of paper in my wallet, which explains how he got her number. Both of us changed all our contact information, and it's been a month without an incident. I really don't know how to feel about this whole ordeal. I think I'm just going to try to block the memory out of my head. These stories weave together themes of fear, mystery, and the supernatural, creating an immersive and haunting experience. Each tale explores the unsettling events at carnivals, leaving the characters and the reader questioning the nature of the unknown. Vit Dihan MT Hoon. I felt like such an idiot. I told the authorities that the guy was probably an ex-employee with a key, but they shrugged off my theory and told me to go home. So reluctantly, that's what I did. It's not like I had gotten hurt or anything, at least. That's what I kept telling myself to push away the creeping sense of dread that clung to me. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Something about the whole situation felt unfinished, like an itch that wouldn't go away. The next few days were a blur of anxiety. I tried to go back to my normal routine, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face, those sunken eyes, that deranged smile. It was burned into my memory like a scar that wouldn't heal. I found myself constantly looking over my shoulder, paranoid that he was somehow following me, but there was never anyone there. A week later, the nightmare escalated. My girlfriend called me one night in a panic, frantically screaming into the phone about something terrible that had happened. Her voice was so frantic that it was difficult to understand what she was saying, but I eventually pieced it together. Apparently, someone had been texting her phone, pretending to be me. The messages were eerily convincing, using details only I would know, and they convinced her to drive out to this remote location to help me change a tire. The stranger had even described my car perfectly down to the smallest detail. Thankfully, she decided to bring her dad along, even though the guy had insisted she come alone. When they arrived, the situation quickly turned sinister. The car parked in the lot wasn't mine, and as soon as her dad stepped out of the car, 6 men emerged from the shadows. They were large, imposing figures, and the intent in their eyes was unmistakable. Her dad sprinted back to the car and They managed to drive off before those men could catch up to them. The whole thing made sense when I realized what had happened. I did have my girlfriend's number written down on a slip of paper in my wallet, which explained how the stalker had gotten her number. The thought that he had been tracking me this whole time sent chills down my spine. The idea that he was still out there, lurking, was terrifying. Both of us changed all our contact information immediately, and it's been a month without incident. But the fear hasn't gone away. Every time my phone buzzes, I feel a spike of panic, half expecting to see another message from him. I've started to hate the night, the darkness that seems to hide too many secrets. I keep the lights on in my house, but it doesn't help much. The shadows are always there, just out of reach, waiting. I really don't know how to feel about this whole ordeal. I think I'm just going to try to block the memory out of my head, but it's easier said than done. The scars run deep, and I'm not sure if they'll ever truly heal. I stopped going to carnivals, and I avoid any place that reminds me of that night. But no matter what I do, I can't shake the feeling that he's still out there, watching, waiting for the right moment to strike again. The stories I've shared here are a reflection of that fear that has taken root in my soul and refuses to let go. They weave together themes of terror, mystery, and the supernatural, creating an immersive and haunting experience. Each tale explores the unsettling events at carnivals, leaving the characters and the reader questioning the nature of the unknown. But this is only the beginning. This is just part one of my story, and I fear that the worst is yet to come. Stay tuned for part 2, and maybe, just maybe, we'll uncover the truth together. Until then, stay safe and keep your doors locked. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on the next chapter.